ating discussion. Ang first question ko po ay para sa President ng Philippine Institute for Development Studies, si President Joseph Yap. Sir, nabanggit nyo kanina that this month, September, is the Development Policy Research Month. How important po ang pagsasaliksik or research in terms of laying out our economic policies and other policies of government?
Mahalaga po talaga ang pananaliksik. It's very important as a basis to make sure that policies are effective. May bisa po yung ating mga patakaran. Parang hindi suntok sa buwan, di ba, yung kung anong kailangan gawin. And you're able to allocate your resources properly. For example, in the case of the budget, it's good that if you have some policy basis for the allocation of the budget, to ensure that the resources are allocated to your main objectives. Yes.
Ibig sabihin po nito, tuloy-tuloy po ang pag-aaral na ginagawa ng PIDS, and specifically in what areas po tayo nagko-concentrate or nagfo-focus?
Manawak po ang aming mga pag-aaral. Ito depende po sa expertise ng aming research fellows. So, meron kami pag-aaral sa pangangalakal, business, panlalapi, finance, edukasyon, kalusugan. We have studies on health economics. We have on agriculture and poverty analysis. And we're also very active now, for example, in looking at the compliance of the Philippines in terms of its commitments to the ASEAN Economic Community. Okay.
I see.
Okay. Related po dito sa theme for the Development Policy Research Month celebration. Back to ABC's Education for Development. Ano hong partikular na aspeto ng Education for Development ang tinututukan sa kasalukuyan ng PDIS, sir, please?
Okay. Ang ginawa po namin kaalan, engage the assistance of Professor or Dr. Vicente Paqueo, who recently retired from the World Bank, and requested him to put together a research agenda that we can look at. Parang itong research agenda nito ay maging gabay ng aming pag-aaral sa edukasyon. Dr. Paqueo presented his framework yesterday. As he presented, what he stressed is that we need to have to reformulate the incentive system in education, and more importantly, accountability. Kasi may maraming mga proyekto, maraming mga programa sa edukasyon, and then there are results, outcomes, but no one is accountable. Kung may palpak, halimbawa may palpak, who is accountable for the failures in education? So there should be an accountability mechanism, and to ensure that the programs that work are put into the mainstream of our education system.
Paano po yung mga findings, like you were saying or pinpointing several already, yung mga initial findings po natin na ito, paano po yung proseso so that we can start implementing and making changes in the education system?
Well, not only in the education system, but it's for all our research.
Yes.
Lahat ng aming outprodukto ng aming pananaliksik. Ang ginagawa po namin, we have a very efficient and effective research information staff. They take care of disseminating our research. We host many forums, many meetings, mga pagpupulong. Pinipresenta namin ang aming mga resulta sa mga miyembro ng Senado, ng House of Representatives. And we try to put our research in very readable form, so it's can be understood, because they don't have enough time to really digest. The policymakers don't have enough time to digest our outputs. So we make sure that our research reach the proper policymakers. In this case, for the education, we involve the Department of Education, we involve TESDA in the DPRM, and we also involve the Commission on Higher Education. Yeah.
I see. Thank you, sir. Nito pong makalanlang ay lumabas yung forecast na, ito po, shift tayo from education to the economy. Meron pong forecast na lumabas after ang pag-aaral ng PIDS na medyo mag-slow down po ng konti ang trade sa bansa this 2011, only to pick up again in 2012. Ano po ang mga naging considerations for PIDS to come up with this forecast, sir?
Yeah. Sa totoo lang, wala kaming, ang unang naming forecast ay nilabas namin nung Enero. At mula noon, hindi namin binago yung forecast. We don't really update our forecast. But we do come out with regular analysis of the Philippine economy. Meron kasi akong PowerPoint presentation eh. Di ko alam kung pwede namin ilabas. I just wanted, can we have the first few slides? I had some slides which compared the Philippines to other economies, and then but one thing, yeah, okay. Can we go to the slide that compares GDP? Okay, go. Okay, there. So, I wanted to start off with this. We compare the Philippines, where it stands to other countries. It shows that we have a lower per capita GDP, for example, lower than Thailand and Malaysia. What I wanted to point out here is, narinig nyo na Philippines was only the second to Japan in the 1950s and the 1960s in terms of economic progress. That's not true. The Philippines had a lower per capita GDP than many other countries, not only Japan, lower than Singapore, lower than Malaysia, lower than Korea, lower than Hong Kong. Okay, so that's one thing just to situate the Philippines. And then the second slide, if you look at the second slide, we looked at the progress of Philippine GDP since 1960. The conventional wisdom is that the Philippines lost 1 decade after the crisis in the 1980s. After 1982, the per capita GDP peaked and then it fell. And then we always say that we lost 1 decade. Hindi totoo yun. After looking at the data, we actually lost 2 decades. The only time we recovered our 1982 per capita GDP was in 2002. Okay, so there were some also policies that were implemented after 1986 that really did not help the economy. And then the third slide shows that our poverty situation is I would describe it as dismal. If you compare it to other countries, particularly Vietnam, we have a higher poverty incidence than Vietnam. And one reason for this situation in the Philippines, if you jump 2 slides, is our lack of economic transformation. Okay. In the case of the Philippines, we look at economic transformation as how manufacturing has developed. Okay, and one reason, and you can see that the share of manufacturing to our total output has stagnated since 1980. Just compare it to Indonesia. In Indonesia, the share of manufacturing was 13% in 1980. It jumped to 26% in 2009. In the case of the Philippines, 1980 and 2009, the share of manufacturing is even lower. And historically, manufacturing is the driver of your economy. It is the source of economic transformation. Okay, and we failed to achieve this transformation and one reason is we lost 2 decades of development. And let me just point out our major challenges and constraints. Can we just go to the next slide and jump? Our major challenges and constraints, which were listed by the Asian Development Bank in 2007. This is a good list as any. The first is low investment rate and lack of entrepreneurship. We have a problem with investment. We have a problem with electricity and transportation. We have weak institutions that give rise to governance problems. And then the second slide will give you a secondary set of constraints. So the inability to address market failures, leading to what we describe as a shallow and narrow industrial base. We don't have enough products. Our production is not very diversified. And then we have inequitable access to development opportunities, especially among the low-income groups. They don't have access to health, infrastructure, education, and other productive assets like finance. And then we have a tight fiscal situation. So these are the 6 major areas which have to be addressed by the Philippines. That's why our forecast for this year is not so promising. It has been reduced. These are some of the reasons. Of course, you have the external environment and other underspending and other factors. Okay, I'm sorry, but it just lays the groundwork for further discussion.